Thank you for joining I Am Possible, which is India's first future tech meets sustainability podcast. And today I'm delighted and honored to have with me Mr. Harsha Moily, who's the founder of the Bangalore based Nature Fix Climate Ventures, which is the first of its kind $200 million climate tech VC from India. So, Harsha, really appreciate you taking time and being part of the podcast. Why don't we start with a brief introduction?
Sure. Pleasure to be on your podcast, Eddie. I've had about 26 years of experience, both in a professional capacity and with corporates, and I'm also an entrepreneur for the last 15 years. Worked in London for 4 years, mainly in private equity, focused on the infrastructure space in hydrocarbons in the agri space, and I came back to India in 2006 to launch my own company. Initially, we started off as a microfinance firm, and then we pivoted towards a rural supply chain firm focused on dairy and fruits and vegetables. And we exited that business sometime in 2016. And since then, I've been exploring options in renewable energy and climate tech. And I think what's happened because of COVID was it gave me a lot more clarity, just not doing anything. I think it gave me time to think through what's the next step, and I felt climate tech is a space that I want to get into. And I had a good friend introduce me to a common friend who was also as equally passionate about climate tech as me. So yeah, here we are, where we are in the process of launching a climate tech fund.
Why don't we talk about why climate tech? What got you interested into look into climate tech? And maybe you could also talk about the journey of raising your 200 million fund.
Right. First of all, let me clarify, we are in the process of raising the 200 million climate tech fund. But let me go back to your first question, why climate tech? I think one cliched or obvious reason for starting climate tech is I'd like to make sure that when I leave this world, I'll hopefully make it a better space than I found it. So that's one primary reason. And secondly, especially for the next generation, I don't want to look back in 20 to 30 years time, if I live that long, to say that I haven't done anything about climate tech, haven't made this world a better place for the next generations, haven't made this planet a better space for the next generation, and also for the poor. And I've seen the impact of climate on adverse effects of climate on livelihoods, on health, on especially on the poor, and also on the economy. So all of these reasons felt that climate tech is the highest calling of mankind, because it impacts every possible aspect of life, be it social, be it economical, be it political, be it across generations, across ages, across castes and religions. So it doesn't discriminate at all, the adverse effects of climate change. And now I feel that especially abroad, there's a lot happening in the climate tech space, but nothing much happening in India. There's very little climate financing on climate tech in India. And I felt that there are companies working in the space, but they have lack of access to capital. So that's a primary reason why we decided to start this climate tech VC fund. To answer your second question, where we are in our journey in terms of raising the 200 million climate tech fund. Again, first of all, let me clarify, like I said, we're in the process of raising the fund, and we arrived at a number of 200 million because we felt that there is appetite in India and Israel for a climate tech 200 million size fund. Again, the unique factor or differentiator of a climate tech VC fund is that we are focusing on the India-Israel corridor. So not all of the capital will be deployed in India. There'll be some portion of the capital deployed in Israel. And we are looking at Israel from a point of view of technology transfer into India, because Israel is a much more evolved and mature market for climate technology. So we're looking at Israel as a transfer of technology into India, and secondly, opening up markets for startups in Israel, in India, or globally. So it's a 200 million fund. We went to the US to raise capital from LPs there. So we had a series of meetings in September, October, November, and we've been able to get in principle commitments of up to about 80 to 85 million from a range of high net worth individuals, investment banks, fund of funds, hedge funds, and a corporate venture capital fund. Now, post November, I think US obviously goes off on a holiday in September, and I'm sorry, December, and comes back in January. So they've had their investment committee meetings. So to date, we've got firm commitments of about 35 million from out of the 80 so far. And what we've realized is fundraising is quite a painful experience, because one is it's our first fund. Secondly, India being a nascent sector, LPs are much more apprehensive about investing in India at this stage.
We've got so many opportunities. Today I think geography doesn't really matter. No matter where you sit, internet has given you the capability to educate yourself, launch your own business, connect with everyone, and the possibilities are limitless. The only problem, and the largest problem, is climate. And today, breathing is a problem in our country. Delhi happens to be one of the most polluted city in the world, and I believe 35 of the 50 most among the 50 most polluted cities in the world, 35 happens to be in India. We've got great things happening at this point in time, but if we do not course correct, we won't have a world. So yes, I'm sure it's a huge opportunity. And you mentioned India, maybe there's not much movement, but globally, there is 40 plus billion invested in 600 climate tech startups just in the year of 2021. So it's an exciting space. Talk to us a little bit more about Nature Fix Climate. What's the vision? And you mentioned that you'll be investing in India and Israel. Is it going to be seed stage, early stage startups? What's the plan?
So Nature Fix Climate Ventures is a climate tech fund focused on primarily reducing CO2 emissions and methane emissions. So when you talk about CO2 emissions, you're talking about fossil fuel combustion, cement production, forest clearing. When you're talking about methane, you're looking at landfills, production and distribution of natural gas and petroleum, rice cultivation, fossil fuel combustion, fermentation from digestive system of livestock. So we're looking at two of these, 4 to 5 greenhouse gas emissions. Now, if you go deeper, do a deeper dive in terms of where specifically in terms of verticals we're going to focus our investments on, we've identified 4 verticals. So when I say 4 verticals, before I get into the vertical, the vision really is to heal the land, water, wildlife, and humans. That's primarily our vision. And in terms of our investment focus, we said we'll focus on 4 verticals. Let me also clarify that these 4 verticals are not written in stone. The key thing is decarbonization. So that's the key thing. So anything that will decarbonize, we're going to invest in. Green buildings, when I say green buildings, you're talking about responsible materials in facade, green walls, smart prime property tech, water efficient systems, waste management. So that being the green meat buildings vertical. Second being energy storage and mobility. So we wouldn't be investing in high capex EV fleets. but we would be more looking at improvements to lithium-ion batteries, energy storage management solutions, microgrid technologies and services, longer duration storage solutions, all of that. That's the green energy and mobility space. That's the second one. Third vertical being sustainable agriculture. When we say sustainable agriculture, you're talking about precision farming, which uses artificial intelligence, machine vision, big data sensors, robotics, and all of that. Secondly, being plant-based food inputs and you're looking at flood and drought-resistant seeds and forestry. And the final vertical that our focus will be is on alternative fuels, which you're talking about. When alternative fuels, you're looking at green hydrogen. We are also looking at carbon capture. So these are the four verticals. Now, that being the case, in terms of you asked me the question about our investment size and what stage that we'll be investing in. So we wouldn't be investing in ideas. We wouldn't be investing in building prototypes. So which means that we'll be primarily investing in the seed stage and Series A stage. So when I say seed stage, we're looking at investing in companies which already have a prototype and ready to scale up. Series A is primarily growth and expansion capital. So in terms of ticket size, for a seed investment, we're looking at anywhere up to about 5 million. And for Series A, we're looking at anywhere up to 15 million. And obviously, there will be follow-on investments going on. So this is pretty much, in summary, what our investment focus is, what our ticket sizes are, and at what stage we'll be investing in.
Today, geography is almost become history, because we're getting into the metaverse, and I think most of the investors are understanding that talent is the key. I mean, if you get a great startup, location is not such a problem for them. So is location specific, like India, Israel, is that a must? And have you been scouting? Have you been in touch with Indian and Israel startups, since you're looking at India and Israel startups in the space of clean tech and green energy? Is there anything that has caught your attention?
Right. While we believe that technology has helped break geographical barriers, we still believe in face-to-face interactions. Face-to-face interactions with LPs, face-to-face interactions with the entrepreneurs and other stakeholders. Because at the end of the day, I think it's really working in person is where you help build values and culture and align everyone along those lines. Another thing I want to mention is about what we promised to our limited partners. We promised our limited partners total returns. When I say total returns, we're talking about financial returns as well as returns on how much mitigation we've done in terms of climate risk. So that is a key thing that we promised our LPs. We're going to have 3 general partners. We already have 2 general partners on board, including myself. So myself and my colleague Balaji Srinivas is the other general partner. The two of us will be focused mainly into India. Balaji Srinivas was the ex-head of Intel Capital, and then he moved on to head Carlyle in India, and then he moved on to head Abraaj in India. So he's a veteran in the venture capital and private equity space. We also will be having a general partner in Israel who's well networked in Israel in the startup community and also has solid experience in investing. And we have spoken to a few startups in Israel, no doubt. And in India too, we have a lot of deals that are in the energy storage and mobility space. We've also seen a startup which I like in green buildings, especially in smart property tech, water efficient systems, waste management, green buildings, green facades. We also saw a company which is in sustainable agriculture.
Amongst the technology solutions for reducing greenhouse gas emissions, which seems most promising and why?
Yeah, one is obviously in the EV mobility space. There are a few companies working on improvements to lithium-ion batteries. That's something that we like. There are a few companies that are working on the battery management space. Then, in terms of green buildings, I really like a company which is working on green facades, which really eliminates steel and cement in construction. There are also quite a few companies working on charging stations, battery swapping, which we really like. We also like a company which is working on precision farming in the sustainable agriculture space. We also like a company which is working on reducing the cost of electrolyzers in the green hydrogen space. So yes, I'll tell you, this is one of the most exciting times of my life.
What kind of support system policy is needed for us to transition to a clean energy India world?
Right. I would say definitely incentives help from the government, but to reduce the green premium, because what we don't want is the cost of going green shouldn't be too high to the end consumer. So any policies that will reduce the green premium would definitely give a boost to the sector, because at the end of the day, customer adaptation is extremely key. Although everyone wants a cleaner planet, everyone wants a cleaner planet, but if there's a product or a service that hits their pocket, I'm not sure there's going to be adaptation to the green economy. So we believe that any incentives that will reduce the green premium would definitely help, and obviously non-interference in the green economy from the government would also help. Yes.
Right. So India has promised to go net zero emission by 2070. What are your views on that? Is it going to be too late for us? Because there are people like I recently had Gaia Harrington on the podcast. She's the sustainability director of KPMG, and she revisited a 1972 report which was created by MIT, which said that by 2040, because of the way we constantly consume and produce, it will lead to a societal collapse. So what are your views on that? Is 2070 too late?
So if you ask me personally, I would say that with every passing year, we are really too late in terms of getting to get net zero. I'm sure the government has done its homework and arrived at 2070 as the year to get to net zero. But earlier they do it, nothing like it, because 2070 clearly is way too far out, and there's a lot of damage that's going to happen between now and 2070. Again, a lot of financing is required for us to really speed up the process from getting to net zero at 2070 to earlier. So more finance, more entrepreneurs, more policies helping the green economy would help us, advance our net zero targets from 2070 to much earlier. I would prefer it to be 2050 practically. If all of this is in place, financing, entrepreneurs, government incentives, yes.
We all need to come together, because I think the largest problem that we face currently is climate crisis. Everything, there is all of these tech which is converging, and it is going to give us so much economical benefits if we kind of leverage this. Now, how can we communicate the urgency of tackling climate crisis to government, enterprise, and consumers?
I think, communicating with the government, that's not our job. That's probably, the government has its own channels of communication. Whereas communicating with the consumers is by saying that, one is there are multiple benefits to go green. One is obviously, your children and your grandchildren will have a better planet to live in. Secondly, the cost of the total cost of not going green is way too high, both in terms of the hit to your pocket, as well as the impact on your health, impact on your livelihoods, and impact on the quality of life. And that is what we need to communicate to the people who will be the adapters of products and services of the green economy.
Do you think that we are depending too much on technology? Because there's Elon Musk who's kind of put in $100 million fund for direct air capture, carbon removal through X Prize. Can we start a mission where we take a proactive approach, where each of us takes responsibility and says that, okay, let's see if we can as individuals reduce our own carbon footprint? Not just individuals, but even businesses can do that. Can we produce and can we pollute less and conserve more? Can we plant trees? Is there, do you think, is that a way for us to create a better sustainable world?
Good question. I wouldn't say that technology is the only way to solve the climate change problem. Climate tech is one major way of trying to solve the climate change problem. But there is also other ways to do it. Change in lifestyle of the way we live. How do we consume less fossil fuels? How do we use less of electricity? How do we use less of refrigerators during the summer? How do we mute videos during a Zoom call? Because that is also another way of mitigating climate tech, the use of fossil fuels. There is also forestation. Ideally, you would want to grow as much trees as possible, but that's not practical, right? So yes, to answer your question, technologies are not the only way to solve the climate change problem. You can also have interventions in terms of the way you live, and also in terms of how you consume products and services, and forestation.
Right, yeah. So you're talking about forestation. India lost around 14% of its tree cover, I think, in 2020. So yes, there is so much that we can do, and I keep on going back to technology, because I think technology is going to play a huge role with human ingenuity to kind of, go to that net zero target that we are looking at. There is green meat that we're looking at, EVs, clean energy. So there is so much going on. What's your roadmap?
So related to this, let me tell you what we are doing, NFC is doing and planning to do. What we have done is NFC as a company and its portfolio companies are going to be measured in terms of it through two components. One is getting to net zero, and second is actual carbon avoidance totally. So we're building a template in place where us as a company when are we going to get into net zero, and what steps are we taking to really get to carbon avoidance. And the same thing will apply to our portfolio companies. So we're looking at total carbon impact measurement, which will have these two components. So our portfolio companies will be required not to just to send an MIS with just financials in place, but also their path to net zero, and also the carbon avoidance actions that they have taken as a company. So that's our view on that.
If there's any startups or listeners who want to reach out to you, where do they get in touch with you?
Yeah, we are on LinkedIn. That's one way of getting in touch with us. They can also send an email to info@nfc-ventures.com. So these are the two channels they can definitely connect us with.
Lovely. Harsha, thank you. Really appreciate you taking time and sharing your insights. We are living in an exceptional point of time, and there is so much that can be done. I think in the next 10 years, this acceleration of technology, if we channel it correctly, I think will help us create a world which is better for everyone. So I'm excited for that, and I hope this venture mission that you are on, I hope it'll play a role in creating an India which is more cleaner, and hopefully my son will breathe the fresh air. So thank you, wish you and the team the very best. And to my listeners, if you like what you see in here, then please press the subscribe button, and until next time, see you guys. Bye bye. Thank you, Harsha. Really
Thank you, Eddie. Thank you. Appreciate that. Thank you.